Now with all the latest weekend headlines, it's the ITV News.
Rishi Sunak makes a surprise visit to Ukraine. The Prime Minister promises President Zelensky more military aid and praises the bravery of his people.
It is deeply humbling to be with you in your country today. The courage of the Ukrainian people is an inspiration to the world.
Also, David Beckham is in Doha as FIFA's president defends the hosts on the eve of the World Cup. Labour's plans to abolish the House of Lords within 5 years if elected, and
to really put this game in the balance, Stewart is over! Score for England!
England score an amazing 3 tries in 8 minutes to avoid defeat against the All Blacks.
This is ITV News with Rebecca Barry.
Good evening. In the snow-blanketed capital of Ukraine this afternoon, Rishi Sunak appeared to receive a warm welcome. The Prime Minister made a surprise visit to Kyiv for his first face-to-face meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky. Promising to continue to stand with Ukraine, Mr Sunak pledged to send an extra £50 million for air defences to help protect civilians and infrastructure from the intense barrage of Russian strikes. From Kyiv, our senior international correspondent John Irvine sent this report.
These days, no foreign prime minister in the world is more warmly received in Kyiv than Britain's.
Well, there we go.
Security requirements made Rishi Sunak's first visit a surprise. It was an opportunity to voice and demonstrate solidarity. At the end of a week that saw the heaviest airstrikes of the war, Mr Sunak announced a £50 million package that includes 120 anti-aircraft guns. Mr Sunak's trip included an act of remembrance at one of Kyiv's most poignant sites, a wall of the faces of thousands of this country's war dead.
It is deeply humbling to be with you in your country today. The courage of the Ukrainian people is an inspiration to the world. In years to come, we will tell our grandchildren of your story, how a proud and sovereign people stood up in the face of an appalling onslaught.
Beside the memorial to the fallen, the Ukrainians have put on display the hulks of destroyed Russian tanks. The carcasses are meant to be a morale-boosting demonstration of Ukrainian prowess on the battlefield. Some of these Russian vehicles may well have been destroyed by British weapons. Indeed, the United Kingdom is second only to the United States when it comes to supplying this country with military aid. Since Boris Johnson's departure, people here have wondered about continuity, and Mr Sunak's message, "We're with you all the way," is exactly what Ukrainians wanted to hear. John Irvine, ITV News, Kyiv.
On the eve of the World Cup, FIFA's president has accused the West of hypocrisy over complaints about Qatar's human rights record. Gianni Infantino defended the host nation in an at times bizarre speech in which he said he identified with every different kind of fan. Our sports editor, Steve Scott, reports from Doha.
Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African.
He's been silent for some time, but today more than made up for that.
Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled.
Deluded, maybe. It was certainly surreal.
Today I feel a migrant worker.
What followed was a long lecture, aimed mainly at the West, for its scrutiny of Qatar's World Cup.
I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years, around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons.
The entire hour and a half amounted to Gianni Infantino rounding on Qatar's critics and calling them hypocrites. Also, for a man who's been asking everyone to concentrate on football only, well, he's just ensured that won't happen for the next 24 hours at least.
It was a jaw-dropping press conference. It really felt like this was an attempt to brush very legitimate human rights concerns under the carpet, to dismiss many of the complaints that have been made around workers' rights, about LGBT communities, and to deflect from FIFA's own responsibility to deal with this.
Infantino's monologue inevitably prompted some discomfort for players on media duties today.
We as players have absolutely no say in where we play. Those decisions are made by people way above us. And obviously we're the ones that end up sitting here having to answer these kind of questions, and it's a difficult situation for us.
All this and the party is only really just getting underway. In the biggest fan park tonight, the beers were proving very popular. Qatar getting a taste of what it can expect over the next few weeks. Steve Scott, ITV News, Doha.
David Beckham doesn't appear to be listening to critics of his reported multi-million-pound deal to promote the Qatar World Cup. He was at an event in Doha today where our correspondent Chloe Keedy spotted him.
David Beckham's presence here is extremely controversial. Qatar, as you've just been hearing, has come in for a lot of criticism in the run-up to this tournament for its treatment of migrant workers and its stance on same-sex relationships. And many people find it simply unpalatable that David Beckham, a huge global star, would choose to be an ambassador for this tournament, reportedly in exchange for many millions of pounds. There have been calls for him to pull out of the deal, but the very fact we saw him here tonight arriving at an event organised by the British Embassy suggests he's not about to do that, but he also wasn't about to answer any questions. Hi David, Chloe Keedy from ITV. How is it to be in Qatar? Do you regret this whole partnership now? Well, David Beckham is being paid to promote Qatar and to promote the World Cup, but with less than a day to go until the football begins, his very association with this tournament is continuing to cause controversy.
Chloe Keedy in Doha. Here, there are reports tonight that Sir Keir Starmer plans to abolish the House of Lords within 5 years if Labour wins the next election. Our political correspondent Romilly Weeks is here. Romilly, this has been talked about for a long time. Is he saying he would definitely do it?
It's certainly something he wants to do, and he's preparing the ground for it. This is a story in tomorrow's Observer, and Labour sources have confirmed to me that he did indeed speak to Labour peers about his plans this week. There would be a process to this, a consultation, but crucially, the new chamber would be elected rather than appointed by politicians, as is currently the case. And this comes against the backdrop of some unease about the current system. Boris Johnson's reported resignation honours list is believed to contain Tory donors and also very young aides. And the idea that Liz Truss, after her very short tenure, has one at all is very unpalatable to many. This is something that Keir Starmer promised during his leadership campaign. Then it seemed rather a distant possibility. Now it's rather closer to having the power to do it.
Romilly, thank you. The Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has called for a full investigation following the death of a resident at the Manston Migrant Facility in Kent. The Home Office said the person died in hospital today after becoming unwell at the centre yesterday. He's understood to be a man who crossed the Channel in a small boat last weekend. The head of a Rochdale housing association responsible for the flat in which a 2-year-old died has been sacked. Gareth Swarbrick had refused to resign following a coroner's report blaming untreated mould for Arab Ishaq's death. And more than a day past their deadline, delegates at the COP27 climate summit in Egypt still haven't reached a deal, but they have so far refused to call an end to the conference. And finally, England pulled off a stunning fight back in the rugby tonight, narrowly avoiding a loss to the mighty All Blacks.
To really put this game in the balance, Stewart is over! Score for England!
England scored 3 tries in the final 8 minutes to salvage a draw against New Zealand at Twickenham. They recovered from being down 25-6. The final score was 25-all and comes 25 years after the two sides played out their only other draw at the same ground. And that's it. The weather forecast is next. But from all of us here on the Weekend News team, thanks for watching and good night.